Welcome to another presentation, and I first of all want to say thank you. Thank you for your continued watching of these videos. Why do I do them? Actually, it's kind of fun. I started this over a year ago when the pandemic started, and I've just continued to enjoy doing it. So thank you for your continued willingness to watch these. Do I have an agenda for putting these out? Not necessarily. My hope is that as you watch and listen and maybe read some of the stuff I print on at different times, that it stimulates some thought processes, that it opens eyes to see things a little differently, or challenges some things, or maybe just makes you laugh. So again, thank you for watching. And I'm not sure how you get to the videos. I know a lot of you probably do it via Facebook, but once you get to YouTube, if you want to kind of forego Facebook in the future, you can hit a subscribe button on YouTube, and every 2 weeks when I produce another video, you will automatically get something online that says on your subscription there is another product there for you. I don't know if I want to call it a product, but another video for you to watch. A little bit about me before we get into the main video today. I grew up on a farm for the first 18 years of my life in southeastern Minnesota, and we had livestock, but for most of that time, when I say livestock, they were chickens. Everything from getting chickens in, or chicks in this cardboard box and putting them under heat lamps and having all that little chirping going on with these little fluff balls, to growing a bit larger where we had between 2,000 and 3,000 laying hens, and there were chores to do. Part of the reason for having that many chickens, which today is probably pretty small compared to some of the large egg farms, but it was a constant source of revenue. Farming itself was seasonal and cyclical, but at least selling eggs was something, and by selling them, we weren't selling them to people coming to the farm. We were selling them to major producing or marketing agencies which got these eggs into stores. So anyway, the chores of gathering eggs, of cleaning out the roost area, where, if you know anything about chickens, they defecate a lot, and so there's always something to clean up. Well, as a kid, chores were not necessarily fun. I'd rather be doing other things than gathering eggs or cleaning eggs or crating them. But one of the things that always got to me was it seemed that every time it was hot, it was humid, June, July, August, you'd be in there gathering eggs, and one of the hens would get spooked by something, maybe me, maybe something else, and it would start to fly. And it seemed to be a reaction that once one or two of these chickens started flying, the other 700 in there thought they needed to do the same thing. Well, think about it. There's that heavy, heavy fragrance of nitrogen or ammonia from the manure. It is hot, it's humid, the air is heavy. When they start flying, there's little feathers and there's dust all over the place, and you're in an enclosed environment. I hated those little buggers. And then when it came time to get rid of the chickens, and then before you got the next group in there, you had to clean out all that manure. You talk about opening up your nasal passages. It did it every time. Well, what you're going to see is something that I've been doing for a couple of friends of mine, probably for almost a decade. I don't know, maybe what you start out not liking, you end up finding there's some fun in it, or nostalgia. But the other part of it is, most of my vocational career, I've been dealing with a flock, so to speak. not necessarily chickens, but people as a parish pastor. So as you watch the rest of this video, have a little fun, listen, look at the countryside. You know, sometimes it's just kind of fun to relive things. But once again, thank you for your willingness to keep watching. Here I am on my spring pilgrimage to visit the flock of Our Lady of the Prairies. It's one of those delightful things I get to do. And as you know, tending to the flock has been a part of my life for decades. This flock, maybe not quite so long, but I think it is going on any number of years that I've been asked to come out and tend to the flock out here, that I basically give them some spring and some fall coop cleaning. Or, as I like to say sometimes, I get to add another chapter to my book, Chicken Coop for the Soul. For the most part, the flock is pretty easy to tend to. Sometimes they stay indoors and watch with great anticipation what is going to be taking place. At other times, a number of them decide to go and enjoy the great out of doors. Seeing that we've had such a nice spring so far, this flock has become fairly productive. Rather interesting that in such a, if you want to say, humble surroundings, this flock produces a lot of things that are beneficial to so many. The flock goes out into the world, into their surroundings, using what's in the world around them, and then transforming that into product that is very useful for many people. They don't just spend their time in the coop, because the coop is not where they're meant to be. They're meant to be out and about in the world, enjoying the world, taking what is there, and as I said before, transforming it into something that is beneficial for many. One of the things about working with the flock is that there always seems to be variety, not only in what it looks like inside, but variety of who you get to see. Sometimes the flock is squawking and you can barely stand the noise. But here we have a couple elders and a younger, and they're diverse in color, in shape, in size, and yet they have a way of getting along. And yet, as I said before, they all produce something. It's not that they just sit inside like this. However, I think these three kind of enjoy the fact that their sanctuary is getting a bit of spring cleaning, and that's a good thing. But they enjoy each other. Yeah, do they squawk? Do they fight? Do they have their moments? They sure do. But for the most part, they find a way to get along. And as I said before, their place, their retreat center out here, is far from a show place. Obviously, they don't spend a lot of time on their fixtures and what it looks like. But then again, this flock isn't out here for show. They're out here to live, to produce, to take what the world provides them and to transform that into something beneficial for many. Maybe it should tell us something about who we as humans are meant to be as a flock. Another part of the enjoyment, as well as the understanding of what goes on out here is there's always, every spring, new members of the flock. Some of the flocks I've dealt with in the past and currently work with too, it's like there's not room for new people, or new members aren't incorporated into the bunch, where at Our Lady of the Prairie every spring there's newness. There's ones I haven't seen before, and yet they all seem to have a mutual purpose and a mutual understanding. They seem to stay together even though they're somewhat diverse, and they all seem to have the same goal in mind: to see what's around them, to take what's useful, and to use that in ways that benefit a greater good. And at times it's just fascinating to watch them work, to watch them do their thing. Not so much to tell them what they're doing is right or wrong, because I think they know that. But they have the opportunity to take and experiment, and the freedom to do what is right for them. Bit by bit, things are getting cleaner, and yet there's a lot for me to do. However, I don't tell the flock what they need to do. I simply find a way to connect with them, to provide opportunities for them to do what they do best. Do they need me? Oh, I guess in some ways, because it's always nice to have freshness and newness. And yet they know what to do overall and how to continue living. And not only are the members of the flock different, but so is what they produce. Different shapes, different colors, different textures. What's inside is even different based upon what they find in their world to digest and incorporate. And yet, no matter what the shell is, what the color is, there is nourishment and life and ways to benefit others inside. Well, it appears as if my time at Our Lady of the Prairie has come to its end. I've done what needed to be done, and some of the flock is here to kind of say thank you for what I've done. But, it's not about what I've done. It's about our partnership together, doing what needs to be done to keep the flock doing what they do best, living in the world, finding what they need in the environment, and making sure they can keep producing things that benefit others. So this chapter, maybe the spring 2021 chapter of Chicken Coop for the Soul, comes to its nice conclusion.